Well, howdy there, Internet people, it's Belle again. So today, we're going to talk about Trump being called a Russian asset by a NATO member president. Well, I've talked about Trump's less than firm stance when it comes to Russia. It seems that some leaders in Europe are ready to publicly state some things that are going to be upsetting to large portions of the United States, and certainly the U.S. government. In what is certain to cause quite a diplomatic stir, if it hasn't already, the president of Portugal, a U.S. ally through NATO and founding member of NATO, said, quote, "The supreme leader of the world's greatest superpower is objectively a Soviet or Russian asset. He functions as an asset." To be clear, the president was speaking at a youth event put on by his political party. Before it starts, the president's party is center-right, though I think by a quirk in their system, he's not technically a member of the party while he's president. Now, in case there was any confusion about what he meant, he went on to say, quote, "I'm saying that objectively, the new U.S. leadership has strategically favored the Russian Federation. There's no ambiguity in that. Objectively as opposed to subjectively. Objectively means it's being presented without emotion." He also said that Trump has led the United States away from being an ally. Under Trump, U.S. foreign policy stature has fallen so far that a president of a NATO country is in public saying the U.S. president is objectively functioning as a tool of Russian foreign policy. I'm old enough to remember when the Republican talking point was that Trump would make us respected again on the world stage. What is more interesting, and might be even more telling, is the absolutely deafening silence. The heads of other NATO nations are not rushing to defend Trump from the accusation of favoring Russia. It's worth noting at this point that there is no actual evidence of Trump being a Russian asset, as far as the intelligence community's use of the term. However, it would be hard for a European leader to go to their voters and make the case that Trump wasn't strategically favoring the Russian Federation. Trump repeating Russian talking points after the Alaska summit, failing to follow through on sanction threats against Russia, not responding to a U.S. factory being hit, lukewarm responses to EU and UK facilities being hit, and so on, have made it hard for European leaders to defend Trump. After the EU facility was hit by Russia, the EU Commission president called Trump to try to encourage him to get the U.S. back in the game and said Ukraine needed to be turned into a, quote, "steel porcupine." This statement will probably be overlooked by a lot of the media, especially in the U.S. The statements will be ignored or downplayed. They shouldn't be. This is a sign that the U.S. may be on its way out as a superpower, even militarily. I mean, can you think of any other point in time where a major figure in a NATO country would call the U.S. president a Russian asset? This is a warning sign for U.S. credibility and power. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.